by winning.
How does somebody get the name Mr. associated with like a city? You got to be a real boss, right, to be Mr. LA, Mr. New York, Mr. Miami.
Mr. Any city has to be at least one of the better people in that zone. It's better being like does more, moves
community
more,
man.
Community does influences, whatever, money, economics, at least fashion, at the very least.
I think it's
lingo.
very overrated right now.
Overrated to be the man in the city?
Right, because if you go back to the 1920s.
I would argue that it's always been overrated. People think they want to be the man in the city, and then you can't get from here to there without fucking getting held up or something.
What if you build a road when there's no roads because cars are invented? Then you bring that road to a sweet city from the middle of the country down to the south of Miami. And in Miami, there's nothing but palmettos, alligators, wildlife.
Is it cocaine yet?
No cocaine, my friend.
There's no cocaine.
There's no buildings, bro. It's just beach.
I mean, you don't need buildings for cocaine.
Right, but cocaine was made way more south, and then it was brought to Miami, and then people did cocaine, made a lot of money, and killed a lot of people.
But there is reggaeton.
No reggaeton. This is the 1920s. There's jazz.
There's jazz. Okay.
There's jazz.
Is there reggaeton jazz?
There's no reggaeton jazz. You know, that rhythm was probably around, but they weren't calling it reggaeton. Because guess what? Reggae wasn't even around.
Reggae wasn't even around.
So you need
Let
the
alone
nucleus,
the tone.
the inventor, the makers, the founders.
Founders, yeah.
These are powerful people. To see a piece of land that has nothing and create a city, a vibe where people come down and follow your views, you know, this is the real misters of our nation. Now you start a little Fortune 500 company, a little tech startup. You might start a little Facebook social engineer shit. Yay.
Yeah.
You wasn't building places that was just nothing but trees and beach and animals. And you know what like the capacity of a human.
Yeah,
You're not impressed by that at all.
I'm definitely, I would say I'm impressed. I would say talk about putting something there that wasn't there before. And you mentioned Facebook. Like,
okay, building, Edward Lee Skousen, right? Great dude. He built Coral Castle by himself. Yippee. This guy these gentlemen that we're about to talk about today.
Talk to him.
These people built cities, okay, and brought people down. People followed them. They seen their vision, and it's a handful of people. It's really, really two dudes that we're talking about. Miami, the city of Miami, one of the number one international destinations in the world. People come here for
international
sex, money,
cocaine,
great time, vacation, retirement. I mean, it's paradise, right?
Yo, retirement, all those things, and then you throw retirement in there. It's like, that doesn't fit. Why would somebody of that age want to come down?
Of course it fits. What do you want in your retirement? You should be having sex, doing drugs, wilding out. That's why you come to Miami. If not, go retire in Alaska and go fishing, bro.
No, you got chill, B.
You can still fish, fuck a prostitute, sniff some cocaine, jump out of an airplane. You could do a lot of stuff in Miami that you can't do in other places of the world. And if it wasn't for these guys, the Misters Miamis, you wouldn't. Thompson.
Okay, but
you
Miami
spent some
has
crazy times in Miami. You owe it to the nuts of these gentlemen. You should worship their balls because you had a great time in Miami.
No, I honestly, I've only ever had a good time in Miami.
Honestly.
I've only ever had a good time in Miami.
I hope.
It's only, never like the time of my life. I've had better times in other places.
What's the worst part of Miami?
What's the worst part? What do you mean? Like literally the location or
spending money?
Yeah. I would say spending money, and I can't explain the vibe all the way because I'm not rich. I will say that because I'm not rich, even a little bit rich. You know, I'm very much lower middle class or whatever, but I just don't really like. I don't like the look on everybody's face. Mostly,
What do you mean?
I don't know.
It's not a New York type of face.
I felt more comfortable in New York than I did in
Really?
Miami. Yeah, I was 18.
Wow.
I was underage. I hadn't even really started to drink yet. I only even started to smoke weed a little bit. But even in New York, I was more comfortable than I ever have been in Miami.
Wow.
In any spot.
Wow.
Just the way it is. I don't know. I can't even explain it
always
to
felt
you.
comfortable in Miami. I mean, I grew up there. I definitely love Orlando more. We moved from Miami after Hurricane Andrew because it seemed like after the hurricane, traffic became crazy. Like it turned into a different city. It wasn't like a laid back, comfortable city. At least that's the way I remember it growing up. And I was there since like 82. From 82 to like 90, 94, I think we moved up here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I graduated in 2000. So right around 94, right? Well, 90, in the mid 90s, okay? And the vibe was always cool to me. Now, granted, there was a lot of crazy murders going on, and there's always been a lot of crime. And from the fraud episode, there's always been a weird mixture of just people getting over. You know what I mean? And it's not like the hustle of New York, where I feel like the far east, the more east you go in the United States, the more people are direct. They want the real. They don't want it sugar-coated. You know what I mean? And I think more west you go, everything's more laid back, like chill, dude. Like it's not so serious. You might get a lot of two-face, you know, not a lot of. I don't want to say that there's not genuine people on the West Coast because there's genuine people everywhere, but it just seems like the vibe is more. It's cutthroat in a different way because there's cutthroat everywhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think you have to have that ambition to build a city like Miami. So I think these guys that we're going to talk about really started that absolute turn something from nothing, you know?
Okay.
And that's the spirit of the United States anyway.
That's what they say.
But
That's what they feeding us.
Miami has got another vibe completely. And, you know, like we talked in the Cocaine Cowboy episode, the vibe that it was then, and it seems like there's always been, within like 10 or 20 years of span of time, there's always like a new revolution of vibe. But the same spirit of go get it, you know, absolutely turn nothing into something and be your own, you know, make your own destination. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
Destiny. I mean, it is. That's the same thing. Destiny and destination.
Yeah.
What's your destiny is what eventually where you're going in life. So it's your destination. That one's not wrong.
I think we're gonna feel like little bitches after this episode.
I doubt that very seriously.
Bro, the life that this guy lived, we need to step our game up, bro.
Yeah, I'll be thinking that.
Give us the facts, Kimberlina.
This episode is not about cocaine or porn, but still about Miami. It's about the crazy 1920s and reason South Florida is so damn crazy. Miami prospered during the 1920s, but weakened when the real estate bubble burst in 1925, which was shortly followed by the 1926 Miami hurricane and the Great Depression in the 1930s. Miami remains a major international, financial, and cultural center. The city's name is derived from the Miami River, which is ultimately derived from the Miami people who lived in the area at the time of European colonization. Though spelled the same in English, the Florida city's name has nothing to do with the Miami people who lived in a completely different part of North America. Miami experienced a very rapid growth up to World War II. In 1900, 1,681 people lived in Miami, Florida. In 1910, there were 5,471 people, and in 1920, there were 29,549 people. As thousands of people moved to the area in the early 20th century, the need for more land quickly became apparent. Until then, the Florida Everglades only extended to 3 miles, 5 kilometers, west of Biscayne Bay. Beginning in 1906, canals were made to remove some of the water from those lands. Miami Beach was developed in 1913 when a 2-mile, 3 kilometers, wooden bridge built by John Collins was completed. During the early 1920s, the authorities of Miami allowed gambling and were very lax in regulating prohibition, so thousands of people migrated from the northern United States to the Miami region.
To get drunk.
This caused the Florida land boom of the 1920s, when many high-rise buildings were built. Some early
So alcohol built the first buildings, and cocaine built that next building.
developments were raised after their initial construction to make way for larger buildings. The population of Miami doubled from 1920 to 1923-24. The nearby areas of Lemon City, Coconut Grove, and Avocado were annexed in the fall of 1925, creating the greater Miami area. However, this boom began to falter due to building construction delays and overload on the transport system caused by an excess of bulky building materials. On January 10, 1926, the Prince Valdemar, an old Danish warship on its way to becoming a floating hotel, ran aground and blocked Miami Harbor for nearly a month. Already overloaded, the three major railway companies soon declared an embargo on all incoming goods except food. The cost of living had skyrocketed and finding an affordable place to live was nearly impossible.
Damn,
This economic bubble was already collapsing when the catastrophic
The vibe doesn't change.
It's always expensive to live there. It's been expensive since the 20s, y'all.
Great Miami hurricane in 1926 swept through, ending whatever was left of the boom. The Category 4 storm was the 12th most costly and 12th most deadly to strike the United States during the 20th century. According to the Red Cross, there were 373 fatalities, but other estimates vary, due to the large number of people listed as missing.
Estimates.
Between 25,000 and 50,000 people were left homeless in the Miami area. The Great Depression followed, causing more than 16,000 people in Miami to become unemployed. As a result, a civilian conservation corps camp was opened in the area. During the mid-1930s, the Art Deco district of Miami Beach was developed. Also during this time, on February 15, 1933, an assassination attempt was made on President-elect Franklin D. Roosevelt. While Roosevelt was giving a speech in Miami's Bayfront Park, Giuseppe Zangara, an Italian anarchist, opened fire. Mayor Anton Cermak of Chicago, who was shaking hands with Roosevelt, was shot and died 2 weeks later. 4 other people were wounded.
Crazy time, bro. It's 1930, right? 33. Like they're having a political, powwow. Everybody's down there from Chicago, all across the United States. They go to meet in support of Roosevelt.
Yeah.
Because Miami was the place to come, hang out, gambling, drink the booze,
right?
Dance that.
It was.
You
They
dance
say
like this.
No, I don't think ever.
Yeah, bro. This is the jazz thing. You gotta throw your ones up.
I don't think that's what it did. So why everybody had they had legal booze, but they said they were lax on prohibition. What did that mean exactly?
Well, it was the South, so they're like Florida.
Lax on prohibition means they just didn't enforce it, maybe.
Right. And I mean, you're like,
because that's federal. Right.
And who's going to come all the way down to Miami and stir shit up?
So it's kind of like weed in that way.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, we think it's fine.
It was the same. Coke was doing, they were doing the same thing in the 80s. Everything was lax. Even the 70s was even worse.
Right. The 60s too, right?
Yeah, I think that's when it started as far as like experiment drugs outside of alcohol, like really being.
So basically all the time, forever, there's always been these things, and forever everybody's been in an uproar about it.
And Miami always attracts a cast of characters, If you had
right
Pablo Escobar in the 80s, guess who had a house there in the 20s and 30s? Al Capone. You know what I mean? Meyer Lansky had a house down there. You know what I mean? So it's always attracting, and not to mention not just criminals, but also just people that are ambitious and passionate and really take their life to the next levels, like a Howard Hughes, and like we're going to talk about Carl Fisher. You know what I mean? And of course, I think Henry Collins was his name, Mr. Collins. That's Collins Avenue, right when you drive in Miami Beach. And if it wasn't for these guys, and not just what a noble and great part of your legacy, right? That you built a city, right? But that's not the only thing that this guy Fisher did. Like, this guy was a race car driver before race car driving was even a thing. This guy built the Indianapolis 500. Like, he's the father of this. He was one of the first guys to have a car dealership. You know what I mean? I'm talking too much. Look at more of the facts. Kimberly.
Zangaro was quickly tried for Cermak's murder and was executed by the electric chair on March 20th, 1933 in Rayford,
That's
Florida.
the guy that killed
Also
the
in
mayor.
1933, the Miami City Commission asked the Miami Women's Club to create a city flag design. The flag was designed by Charles L. Mander on their behalf, and adopted by City Commission in November 1933. It is unknown why the orange and green colors were selected for the flag. One theory is that the colors were inspired by the orange tree, although the University of Miami was already using the colors of orange and green for their sports teams since 1926. In 1937, the local Ku Klux Klan raided La Paloma, an LGBT nightclub. After the
19 what?
This was 1920.
The flag. One theory is that the colors were inspired by the orange tree, although the University of Miami was already using the colors of orange and green for their sports teams since 1926. In 1937, the local Ku Klux Klan raided La Paloma, an LGBT nightclub.
So imagine how uninclusive it was back then, right?
1937.
Like, you were not allowed to be gay at all. And there was an LGBT club in Miami. That's how progressive the vibe down there is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even at the time.
Yeah.
I blew me away. I was like, LGBT club in
Yeah.
1937. That's crazy.
For sure, man. Because you would think, no way, right?
And to know that the Ku Klux Klan wasn't just about just getting rid of black people. They cared about
I know, it was everybody
gays
except
and
straight white
Jews.
men.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about a gay Ku Klux man? Ku Klux Klan man.
Well, you know J. Edgar Hoover, the FBI
Used to
director.
dress up.
Reason why he didn't go after the mob was because the mob had a whole bunch of pictures
Of him in like
and drag and panties and he had his lifelong like partner in crime. You know what I mean? Was his gay lover. You know what I mean? Because they didn't have girlfriends. You know, if we didn't have girlfriends, people probably think we're gay lovers. But because we have girlfriends, people are not going to think that. They didn't have girlfriends or wives.
Why would people think we're gay lovers?
If we were just like a sidekick, right, and this podcast blew up and we didn't have no girlfriends, people would think we were gay lovers.
Okay. I don't think so.
Yeah, they would go on your Instagram and see like, yo, damn, Thompson doesn't have no girls on his Instagram. Then go on my Instagram. It's like, yo, there's only pictures of Thompson and Fredo high-fiving and doing a lot of gay shit.
Are you saying if we didn't have girlfriends?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, my fault.
Yeah, not off the bat.
Yeah, maybe.
But that's where I'm getting with the point is that people assume things, you know what I mean?
People always assume things.
Always.
Yes.
Based on just
their own personal.
Yeah, and
whatever
just
you
face
assume
value,
about
you know
somebody
what I mean?
says a lot about you, good or bad.
Right.
Informed or otherwise.
Well, I didn't know that about the Ku Klux Klan. I thought they were just strictly going after black people, but apparently
because that was the issue in the South at the time.
Right.
The popular knowing the Ku Klux Klan that it was, we want slaves, but it's everybody. They feel like it's been white, so it needs to stay white because they discovered it or whatever. They came over, discovered.
That's kind of easy.
Easy what? To come over?
No, easy way of thinking. Like, oh, I know white, so this is white, and let me just stick to white.
Yeah, there's levels to the stupidity that is that kind of shit. But hey, it's there's room in the world for everybody, including this ignorant motherfucker who thinks he actually discovered a place where people.
So they start killing people.
Yeah, but everybody kills people too. So let's not just put it on ignorant white people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's happening a lot here.
Tato kills people.
Potato?
Tato? From the Glow Gang?
Glow Gang.
It's one of Chief Keef's entourage.
Okay, Chief Keef.
He kills people. That's what he says.
After the non-lethal raid, the nightclub became a site of a more solidified LGBT community and resistance against conservative sexual
These
laws.
are really good, Thompson. They're like
Carl Graham Fisher, January 12th, 1874, July 15th, 1939, was an American entrepreneur. Despite severe astigmatism, he became actively involved in auto racing. He was a seemingly tireless pioneer and promoter of the automotive industry and highway construction, and of real estate development in Florida. He is widely regarded as a promotional genius. Despite family financial strains and a disability, in the late 19th century he became a bicycle enthusiast and opened a modest bicycle shop with a brother. He became involved in bicycle racing, as well as many activities related to the emerging American auto industry. In 1904, Carl Fisher and his friend James A. Allison bought an interest in the U.S. patent to manufacture acetylene headlights, a precursor to electric models which became common about 10 years later.
Lot of
Fisher's
shit, bro.
firm supplied nearly
A lot of shit. Yep. Headlights, cars, bicycles, real estate. This guy's got balls, man.
every headlamp used on automobiles in the United States, as manufacturing plants were built all over the country to supply the demand. The headlight patent made him rich as an automotive parts supplier when he and Allison sold their company, Presto Light, to Union Carbide in 1913 for $9 million, equivalent of approximately $230 million in 2018. Fisher operated in Indianapolis what is believed to be the first automobile dealership in the United States, and also worked at developing an automobile racetrack locally. After being injured in stunts himself, and following a safety debacle at the new Indianapolis Motor Speedway, of which he was a principal, he helped develop paved racetracks and public roadways. Improvements he implemented at the Speedway led to its nickname, the Brickyard. In 1912, Fisher conceived and helped develop the Lincoln Highway, the first road for the automobile across the entire United States of America. Wow. A convoy trip a few years later by the U.S. Army along Fisher's Lincoln Highway was a major influence upon then Lieutenant Colonel Dwight D. Eisenhower years later in championing the interstate highway system during his presidency in the 1950s.
Wow.
This is the reason
the idea
this guy
for the highway going across.
We would have no roads, bro. We'd be walking, driving the car through the damn tree.
Well, be careful.
Bro, Fisher.
It's the same conversation, ironically, about Miami that you said if there wasn't cocaine, we wouldn't have Miami the way it is, or blah, 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 right? I'm just like, who's to say it wouldn't have done
anyway?
Some type of other way? We can't say that he's the reason. Now, sorry. We can't say that if he hadn't done it, we wouldn't be doing it. We can't say that. We can say he's the reason. Because he is, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But we can't say he's like our Lord and Savior, and we'd be walking around blind and dumb. That's what it sounds like when somebody says that. It's like, oh God, if he wasn't here.
We fall victim to convenience.
Of course. But again,
we take shit for granted, bro.
Of course.
I get pissed off sitting in traffic.
Of course.
There wasn't no roads 100 years ago, bro. I-4. We get pissed off about I-4 and the bullshit. Not to mention the traffic in Miami is terrible.
Yeah.
It's nothing compared to Orlando's traffic.
Right.
But still,
it's pretty bad.
It's a little bitch of us.
No,
that's
for
what
sure.
I mean.
But we're
these
allowed.
men didn't have these things.
But we do. So now our kind of like perception is altered because we've altered it with our technology. So now we're at a new level.
Yeah, but you gotta praise these dudes like gods, man.
Not like gods. Why like gods?
Because of the convenience. People always talk about heaven, paradise. These are all states of mind, but all they're really saying is comfortable, bro, living a good life.
No, that's not heaven or paradise or whatever.
It is, man.
Paradise is not wanting for anything.
Little by little, because of people like
paradise is complete and utter.
Maybe God's too much of a strong word, but prophets,
yes, it is.
Like thank you for existing.
For sure.
Like more than Jesus.
Maybe.
Jesus died on a fucking cross, bro.
Allegedly.
Okay. Buddha.
Jesus Christus.
Allah. All these people that we worship.
Well, Allah's back to God again.
Right, but all these people that we worship on earth, I don't think are as important as people like this. Because of the convenience that they've added. Their intuition, their ingenuity.
So it's like Steve Jobs.
Bro, thank you for a fucking awesome cell phone, bro. Yes, these are the people that, and worship maybe is a strong word, but it's like, yo, give these people the real credit they deserve.
Yeah,
if we were to believe, let me just finish this point. If we were to believe more in humanity than in external creations by another, and even the people that created religion, if you want to worship somebody, worship them, because those are the creators, So creators, people that spark these ideas and bring them to life and make our life easy, I think are real deities. I think are godlike beings, if not gods themselves. Not with the worship. Let's take the worship, religion, all that out. Just a respect factor. Like, yo, you made my life mad convenient, bro. Thank you. Traffic sucks. I'm a piece of shit for hating on this shit. But 100 years ago, I'd be sweating my ass off because there was no AC, be walking everywhere. Gotta take care of this fucking horse. Remember the alien? Those motherfuckers. The alien Gonzalez. Yeah. Fucking Cuba didn't get to have the ingenuity that America had, so they fell behind, and they still got buggies driving around their roads, still cobblestone ass shit. You know what I mean? And it's 2019.
Man, you want to come here and enjoy their quality roads. Roads. I hear what you're saying, but I'm sorry, you can't say something and then take away 2/3 of the definition of it and still call it what it is. You know what I mean? You can't take away the worshiping and the what up and still call them deities. You see what I'm saying? You gotta call it something else. You can't take 2/3 of the definition away from it and still call it that.
Right, because that's the lane that was created, and you got to
follow. It's not a deity. It's not a god. They're amazing. They're trailblazers. They're all these different things. But they may even be more important to some people. They are more important to some people than actual gods or whatever. But they're not gods. They're not Allah. They're not.
I think we should start valuing real humans more than external.
I think most people do. I think there's more people that do. Even religious people probably value Steve Jobs more than God. Really, I know they say stuff and people do stuff and they go to church and they sing their hymns and all that shit. And more respect to them, because more times than not, those are good people. They're just there being good people. That's why I don't get why people be mad at people that are religious. I don't understand your anger. There are a few people that are religious, that are fanatical, and that want to hurt people. A small small percentage. It seems like a lot of people, but it's just not. It's such a small percentage of folks. It's more people get hit by lightning than fucking are fanatical religious people.
In general, religion should make you a better person if you practice it.
It just does, because that's what it. If you read this shit, most of the stuff is. There's some bad shit in there. I'm not saying there isn't. There's some backwards ass thinking because the shit was written back when there was more backwards ass people. It just was.
They didn't have routes.
Thousands of years ago. They didn't have routes. They had camels and, goats. And they drank the goat's milk. And it was, they traded goats. There's a lot of goats involved, including in the Bible. There's goats there too.
So happy to be born in the 21st century.
So I'm saying best time to be alive.
Well, so far.
I mean, it's only downhill from here unless we do something better with the planet. We're literally at the point of what are we gonna do? But I think that keeping it as close to I don't know, realistic or whatever, just within the realm of possibility is the way everybody should go, instead of kind of closing our eyes and hoping that this feeling or person or frequency or whatever, you know what I mean, will help us in this little walk through life. We, like you said, kind of just do something of some substance. And it's cool to breathe deep and, chant and pray and throw pieces of metal into water and make wishes or whatever. But, just do something solid.
Yeah.
Build something.
Give back.
Do something. If you can. If not, then at least spark conversation if you can.
But that goes back to my point is, and I don't want to get too deep in, but because we're engineered, programmed, whatever, brought up and raised with those values, more people don't act on the human stuff because sometimes they're lost in the worship, or maybe they're lost in purgatory, right? Maybe they're just, some people are just too fucked up and they think they can't come back. Some people are insecure like that, you know what I mean? And that's the majority. You either have the super like righteous or the super ratchet, right? And then you have the people in the middle, like fucking Fisher, like people that.
So he didn't do anything bad?
No, I'm not saying bad or good. That's human. You're gonna do good and bad things, but your legacy is you left the fucking roads for us. You made it convenient. You inspired Eisenhower to build the rest of them because you Was it no Eisenhower later on? Roosevelt was the president, but Eisenhower later on built all the roads and stuff because he was inspired by this guy. You know what I mean? Not to mention race car driving, bicycle enthusiast. He headlights. We need headlights. You know what I mean? Okay. It's such a simple thing, but man, like the numerous things that he added to humanity, and I think if we worshipped people or we were reprogrammed more in that light, like to really be more admiring than the worship and being like you say, a prototypical good person, not a realistic, you know what I mean? And giving back, adding, you know what I mean? There's less of those people, I think, in life, you know? You might give back to your family, right? And to the people in your immediate circle, but the people that really impact all of us more than just a few of us,
yeah.
There's
not a lot of those.
There's not a lot of those.
It's hard, though.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Why?
Well, let's say, for instance, me. I'm a, middle-aged male. I make, median income of the United States. I have children. I have a house. Now, what can I do to kind of help, right? I can volunteer. I can I can give to the homeless. I can
but this guy
compost.
This guy was a middle class dude like us. Where does he get the drive and the passion and the relentlessness to say, fuck all that, I'm about to change the world? Or maybe they're not even thinking about changing the world. Maybe they're just like, fuck that, I want to build a road. Fuck that, I want to drive this car. And then that leads into the greatness.
He wasn't a middle class guy like us. He had clearly some other training or connections or path to money or whatever.
We're about to find out that it will not. It was just like us. He just exploited opportunities, and that garnered money and valor, or not valor, validation from his community, and the business relationships he had created more opportunities.
Yeah, business relationship. That's what I'm saying.
But he didn't. He started like us. Simple, lower middle class. He just had passions in racing, so that would attract people. Therefore, he built relationships. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. But I guess that's what, that's what separates him, because he's the one guy that did that for Miami, and then the one guy that, or whatever, or the group of people. There's not a lot of, like we said, there's not a lot of them because it's hard, it's difficult. If it wasn't difficult, there'd be tons of these cats all over the world. And I assume they kind of were. I agree,
but is it that we just think it's difficult?
No,
and that it's not
it actually is. Because again, if it wasn't, there'd be more of these cats.
I think I set myself up for failure sometimes, to be honest.
Yeah.
I try. I've done things that are not like, oh shit, I put 1,000 people in this building or whatever.
It was really hard, right?
Oh yeah, it's hard. But looking back in hindsight, all it was just time and effort. You know what I mean? Everybody's got time and effort.
Yeah, but you don't though. You know, what did you not do when you did what you did?
Well, I sacrificed things.
Exactly. So now we're talking about quality of life, right? So Diddy lives in a mansion, he blah, blah, but he did a lot of sacrificing, you know? He missed a lot of shit that he's trying to make up for now, probably. And it's, do you want to be like that? Like, I have this conversation with people all the time. It's like, we know shit's fucked up in the world. What are we going to do about it? Well, I could go join a coalition of some type, to pass out cards for voting and amendments, and take time, go get off right after I get out of work, go here, stay here till this time, come home, say what's up to the kids for like a half hour or whatever. They're going to go to bed, get up in the morning, get up early, go do these things that kind of like champion being a better person and getting the world to be a better place. And I do that for 10 years. And then you look up, and instead of spending an hour and a half or 2 hours a night with the children, you spend 15 minutes a night or not at all. Right? So yeah, you can make that sacrifice and go do these things that are amazing, that change the world. And then you're Mr. Miami. And who knows, maybe he figured out how to make time and have those relationships with his kids.
That still makes him special, just that ability.
Yeah, maybe he did. But, I'm the type of person that's like, fuck the world. I'd rather just make this life great for these people. I'm not going to sacrifice my life and my like quality of life for, I mean, there's not much.
Right.
I'm sure in the moment shit'll come up. Like if I'm somewhere and I gotta like jump in front of something for some small child or something, that'd be me sacrificing for like this child or whatever. But even then, if everything was like and slowed down and stopped, and it was like, all right, Thompson, now you get to make a choice. Do you A, jump in front of the bullet and save this 1-year-old, or do you B, hesitate just a moment, kid gets shot, but you get to live the rest of your life? What do you do? Ding dong, ding dong. And I'm probably like, that baby might have to die, you know? But when I'm not thinking about it and I'm just being me, I'm going to jump in front of and sacrifice that little bit of time, right? But like, what does that do for me?
Well, you make a good point on the flip side of that. What does it really matter? Like, there's going to be some kid driving down these routes that doesn't even give a fuck.
He's going to throw a piece of garbage out on it.
It doesn't like, oh, road? Well, yeah, who cares who built it? It's here. I'm using it.
Because our perspective has changed. You know, so now we're to the point where why isn't this road? What's wrong with it? Why is there holes in it? God damn it. Don't I pay my taxes? So this road isn't clean because you're just not like, oh, man.
Yeah.
I remember when this was a swamp.
What about when there was no AC?
Swamp. Now it's like, hey, man, I was trying to get this thing to be at like 76. It's at 78, which is fine. I'm not trying to be a dickhead, but 76 is really my zone. So,
you know what blows me away is like some of the houses that were built like previous to they were built like 50 or older, in the 1950s or older. None of them really have central AC. You got to add that. Mm-hmm. Like some of them have wall units because times have evolved. But back then, they were just sitting in these hot ass Florida's houses, like in full like long sleeve cotton shirts. People wore pants, man. We wear shorts in Florida all the time. Back then, were just pants,
wool pants, just all the ball sweats, all the ball sweats. Ugh.
So I'm going to play this PVS little doc. It's about 14 minutes. You guys enjoy this because I definitely did, and it definitely put me on. Shout out to PBS for making this.
Sailing from Key West in 1870, Henry Lum and his son Charles saw coconut palms swaying on what is now Miami Beach. They bought land from the federal government for 25 cents an acre.
25 cents an acre.
It was a barrier peninsula, not even an island. Not until the early 1920s, when a cut was made of.
So I did say that he's not a regular person like us, and that. Wait, never mind. This isn't the guy. This is somebody else that bought the Miami thing.
You're gonna see what he bought his for, and you're gonna be like, "What?"
Baker's Hall over. It had tall mangroves on the bayside. The interior was concave, and it collected a lot of water. There were mangroves in the interior. It was a swamp. And the ocean side was a windswept beach. And it needed a
That was
lot
a
of
bathing
work
suit
to
back
make it.
then.
The beach itself was almost
Yo, that's how you go to the beach in the 1920s.
deserted, a place where early Miamians could enjoy the Atlantic Ocean.
Their ferry boat service came off at today's Flagler Street on the bayfront. And would take you right over there. You would disembark from this ferry boat on the bayside, southern.
That's how you showed up to Miami back then.
You got a vest?
Yo, being a little kid sucked to dress back then. You just look exactly
Notice
like.
no one is smiling.
Yeah, this is before they told you to cheese in pictures.
No, because that's just generally how people look. Because
They didn't have cheese back then?
Hmm?
They didn't have cheese back then?
They didn't have cheese like. Oh. No, there was no smiling back then. Such a hard
And you'd
life.
walk across this wood frame ramp through a jungle over to the ocean side.
The Lums tried to farm coconuts, but the plantation failed when wind and rats destroyed the young trees.
So it was a kind of a forlorn, godforsaken experiment.
A New Jersey pioneer named John Collins bought the property. He had a better idea than coconuts and planted exotic produce like mangoes, tomatoes, and avocados. Collins set about taming the swamp, clearing its mangroves and its rats.
He planted an avocado orchard that straddled today's Arthur Godfrey Road. He planted these Australian pine trees. They're very fast growing, they're very shallow rooted as wind blocks.
Many of those trees, in fact, are on Pine Tree Drive today.
A canal was cut to move the crops across the peninsula to a ferry that connected it to the mainland port of Miami across Biscayne Bay. There, the railroad built by
If you write anything on your computer, you need to get Grammarly.
I write
works
pretty
pretty
much
good.
all day, every day.
I don't need that
You
shit.
need that shit.
industrialist Henry Flagler took the produce north. His southbound trains brought tourists and settlers looking for a slice of a new tropical paradise.
Miami was already a going city by this time. Miami in 1910 had 5,500 people.
Wow.
This was now the age of the automobile, and it would bring with it another northerner with a vision to transform Miami Beach into the playground of today.
Here goes Carl Fisher, the man
Carl
of steel.
Fisher was-
Peep the glasses though. Like, how do you put those on?
The little grip on the right side there.
How do they stay on your face? I was mesmerized. I was like, how
You
do
gotta
you?
keep your eye. You gotta keep your eye just sort of like.
But look, you don't even got the little like crease.
Nah, he's doing it with the inside of his crease. He's on next level shit.
Yo.
Like saying he's special.
So I'm saying you could build roads once you master wearing glasses.
If you can
Without
master
him.
your eye, your inner eye concave.
You could do anything. You could do
Is
anything.
that it? I got it.
We should get you some glasses like that. Can you imagine? Like you have to
I
relearn.
had a pair of glasses like that. They were transitions.
See, I told you guys started out as the same man. You just chose other things.
Was an auto parts mogul from Indiana. He made the first practical automobile headlights, then sold the company for a fortune.
Self-made, a daredevil, a great visionary. One of the more incredible stories in the America of the early 20th century. By the time he's 23 or 24, he's got the biggest car dealership in Indianapolis, which was an important car center at that time.
Fisher loved to be behind the wheel, and he built a speedway in Indianapolis to race cars.
And he laid a lot of money on that track. He put down a wood base, and that thing just kind of flew all over the place, and there were accidents galore. He was mortified. In fact, the first race was unsuccessful, and he came back within a year and built this good masonry base for it, bricks.
Race fans dubbed it the Brickyard. Fisher, a born salesman, proclaimed it the most spectacular sports event in the world.
This guy needs a movie played by Leonardo DiCaprio, starring Leonardo DiCaprio in it.
That's too close to Howard Hughes, though.
Okay, so Johnny.
Chef Cosmo playing. Cosmo, you want to be the guy? Huh? You want to be the guy? Like, nah, I don't have thumbs. You need thumbs to be that guy, I guess.
That's the only thing you're missing.
You had
bro,
thumbs, Cosmo.
If you
could have built Miami.
At the time, most paved roads petered out to dirt.
It looked like
towns.
downtown
Fisher
Thornton Park.
persuaded automakers like Henry Ford to finance the first major
like, why do we
highway,
have
the Lincoln
bricks
Highway, from New York to San Francisco.
Man, is that road still there?
I think that eventually turned into Route 66.
Okay.
Two areas that had never before seen a road, period. And he understood that the car was going to transform transportation.
What a
and American
frustrating
industry.
road that is.
But before it could do that, you needed roads. So let's link this country.
Roads.
Next, he turned his eyes south.
My man is driving around with an
Got
umbrella roof.
a umbrella rickshaw. Motorized
Paradise
umbrella
beckoned.
rickshaw.
If only motorists could get there.
It's all about tourism. The tourist center of Florida, prior to Miami becoming a city in 1896, was Jacksonville, St. Augustine. But by the early 1900s, it's clearly Miami, South Florida.
Within 2 more years, Fisher had built the Dixie Highway, opening the floodgates to sunseekers and investors from the industrial north.
It was a subscription road. If a city wanted it, you had to pay part of the cost of constructing that road.
Damn, dude.
And it's today's Northeast, Southeast 2nd Avenue, right in the heart of Miami.
John Collins, meanwhile, had a vision of his own to connect Miami Beach with the mainland by building a road bridge across the bay.
Road bridge.
Half a mile from completion, he ran out of money. Fisher stepped in to bankroll the
Damn, he got the same glasses and we got no hair. He's old.
So there's like
So
a
it's
little
like-
part right here. That's what's holding them together. This area. It ain't. I mean, it's still a pretty dope pair of glasses.
No, it definitely still has to do with the face grip, the inner concave face grip.
You think-
But he's been wearing those for like 20 years.
Bro, it's a bicycle.
I see binoculars
It looks like a bicycle.
or like a crazy perspective
Face
of a car.
testicles.
Face testicles?
And in return, he got a 200-acre
No.
slice of
No.
Collins's land.
No.
The Collins Bridge
No.
joined Miami Beach where the Venetian Causeway is today, back behind me. And then the Collins Canal runs all the way past the Holocaust Memorial out to an eastern part of today's Miami Beach.
Holocaust Memorial.
When it opened in 1913, it was the longest wooden bridge in the world. With the land link in place, Fisher could see a golden future. So could the Collins clan, especially the businessman's son-in-law, Thomas Pankhurst. Together with a consortium of Miami bankers led by the Loomis brothers, they began to...
A
No
consortium. He had a
black
consortium.
And no black people.
Well, yeah, in the 1920s, anything associated with consortiums were not black.
And nobody smiled.
Yo,
Pictures.
But, well, because it was a hard time. This guy didn't even have his eyes open. He looked like Forrest Gump over there. But this is what this guy had that regular people didn't have.
This guy just
Consortiums. He's like, I'm
He
going
looked
to crop
to the
dust
left
these
and farted.
motherfuckers.
to plan a resort city.
These guys combined their companies, Collins Miami Beach Improvement Company, Fisher, the Alton Beach Realty, the Lummis Brothers, the Ocean Beach Realty. These three companies came together in 1915 and they incorporated
Grammarly.
Writing's not that easy, but Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatically correct.
it as a town.
I'm good.
The Collins clan from New Jersey envisioned a southern Atlantic city.
Where's the black
And saw the
guy?
beach as a winter retreat for the rich and famous.
Where's the black guy? Where's the black guy?
His
Where's the black
vision
guy?
early on was
So black people had their own beach. They like literally put them on the other side of Miami. That's how racist it was.
Oh, they made him like swim in the inlet.
There was like a black. It's called Black Beach. And
Black Beach?
Yeah.
That was very
We're gonna find out that they didn't even care about, like, they were just so simple, like, oh, that's Blacktown, that's Black Beach, Black Road.
Hey man, black is beautiful.
where these Gilded Age princes like himself that have big estates. And many of them are like him. They came out of a hard scrabble background. And now they had money and they were throwing it around.
An army of engineers descended on the beach with heavy equipment to clear the land.
Yo, my man's got an elephant.
Heavy equipment.
Fuck a donkey. We got an elephant.
Smarter.
Even a couple of elephants to help with the heavy lifting.
That sucks. Because
This is way before PETA.
Well, because they're babies. They're like little kids. Damn.
That's what built Miami, guys.
That's fucking crazy. Little baby.
Next time you have your mojito at South Beach, remember the elephants and the black people.
Yeah.
Because they the ones that built the shit.
Just right on their becks. Baby elephants.
Dredges deepened channels and filled in the swamps.
Then he pumped in bay bottom in order to fill in that concave area and to eliminate the chance of water collection again. And so now you're ready. You've got the stage.
Fisher built an opulent bayfront hotel, the Flamingo, where the wealthy could stay while their mansions were built.
And it was the last word in hotels.
God damn, there's a lot of people there.
It had a big
That looks
park
horrible.
and recreation.
So this
terrible.
This whole thing was built because of headlights, basically. He invented the headlights, sold the company, and had money
Everybody
to build.
moved down.
And knew that he could build a retreat for the rich and basically sell them all this land and make way more money.
Oh no!
You might be out of frame too.
No, I'm back. I'm back in here. Of course, it was opulent, so that's what he made it for the rich people that were kind of inside of their lifestyle. I don't know. Do I like this guy? I don't know if I like this guy.
I mean, you like Miami?
No, I said that at the beginning. Not really. You know, it's the look.
I guess
The
like
look on
and
the
what
face.
you said too. You could only like Miami if you got money.
Really? Yeah. Well, I think you can only have the type of fun somebody would comfortably have if you had money in Miami. I'm sure you can get around, and like, you know, like I had a good time. I didn't have a bad time. Well, I've had a bad time in Miami, but I had a generally good time. I just never had a great time. Like, this is amazing time of my life type shit there, and probably because I don't have money. So the more we talk about this guy, the more I'm just like, do I like this guy, or was he just some fucking opportunistic, quick to the checkbook, making the right decisions, exploiting elephant asshole that I you know, I don't know. The jury's still out for me.
I mean, that was the John Deere at the time.
It was Babar here instead of John Deere. It's rough. It's a baby elephant.
East of it, it was just west of West Avenue at around 14th or 15th Street.
The hotel stood where today's Flamingo apartment buildings are. The hotel's recreational grounds are today's Flamingo Park. The tennis complex of today is over here were the polo grounds.
On Ocean Drive and 22nd Street, he opened his Roman.
Damn, that's always how pool parties looked in Miami, bro. Like, just crowded shit, nobody in the pool.
That's so
That's just how Miami Beach parties has been
true.
for the past 100 goddamn years.
Fuck a pool.
It's like, yo, anybody getting in? Nah, man, I just did my hair, bro. I just put my what's that shit? That Beijing or whatever I'm talking about. That like line, the hairliner that they have. You can't jump in the pool when you got that fake hairline.
You're not even allowed to be bare chested as a man.
What do you mean? Oh, and
you always wear like a singlet. Right. Everybody wore a singlet.
I don't know why that was. Maybe because they got burnt. Yeah, that's weird, right?
You couldn't be bare chested like Prodigy and Quiet Storm.
Water's the Atlantic Ocean right there. You can get something to eat, something to drink. It's a glorified cabana. The Nautilus, built in 1923-24, where Mount Sinai Medical Center is today. I mean, that was even more spectacular than the Flamingo. Just east of it was a golf course and a polo field.
At one time, there were more polo fields and golf courses on the beach than schools and churches.
Wow.
Fisher played polo himself.
That's awesome.
He was an avid, all-round sportsman. But his abiding passion was always speed, and he loved to race boats on Biscayne Bay. When he wasn't racing himself, he could watch the regattas from the grounds of his opulent bayfront mansion. From its tower, he
That's
could view
fire.
the new resort
I want a
city
tower,
as it
bro.
rose all around
Like
him.
seriously, if I ever have money, I'd have a couple things, and one of them would be a tower.
Where Rapunzel can hang out.
Nope, just me to be up there so I can see shit. You know, I'd have some underground shit. I'd have I had a whole bunch of stuff, but like a tower would be one of them.
Well, he had a really good idea why he built the tower.
Fisher was a great
Hey,
showman.
look, the elephant got bigger.
Rosie, one of his elephants, joined the sales team.
Fisher was a genius at generating publicity.
Rosie caddied for golfers, including President Warren G. Harding. Sometimes she teed it up herself.
And that went out all over the country.
Yo! My man is standing on the head and hitting the golf ball from the trunk. Yo. This is like some Wolf of
Right?
Wall
Ain't that
Street.
some bullshit? That's some
of Wall
bullshit.
Street.
I agree, bro. I fully agree.
Pictures and
Fully
captions
agree,
and all.
Cosmo.
She was very famous.
Look at that bullshit right there.
Fisher advertised Miami Beach as paradise for sale. In the winter of 1918, he put a billboard in Times Square.
That's where you wanted the people to come from, the snowy north with money.
Bathing bells added their allure. Buyers
Yo,
fled
girls were ugly back then. Look at them schnaz. She's kind of cute. Look at that schnaz, though. They had some schnazzes back
First
then.
of all, chill out. Let's
There
not
were
go
some
rating women.
schnazzes.
But if we are, the three on the right are fine.
J.C. Penney
Nothing
bought
to do
an
with the
estate.
nose.
So did tire company magnate Harvey Firestone. Back in 1903, the government had cut a channel through the beach to create better access to the port of Miami.
The cut created an island that Carl Fisher.
So Rick
took
Ross
a
could make
liking
an
to
album.
and purchased.
Ross.
And in fact, it still bears his name, Fisher Island.
That looks fake, but it's
Somewhere
real.
along the way, the millionaire William K. Vanderbilt brought his large, fabulous yacht to the island. Fisher saw it, fell in love with it instantly, approached Vanderbilt and said, "My island for your boat." And that's the kind of way
That's some
deals
rich
were
shit.
made in those
Yo,
days.
my island for your boat.
Collins Avenue became the first paved boulevard running north to south.
This guy loved
Would
roads.
you just want to build a boat if you're that rich instead of giving away an island?
You got mad land in Miami.
Oh, he has other islands. You
Plus
saying?
he gave him the island that was named after him.
In his part of the world.
It's still named
Still
Fisher
my
Island
island.
to this
It's literally
day.
still my island. It's not like I'm not gonna be able to come here.
You know your boat? I changed the name, but that island is
It's
still mine.
It's still the island.
Through the mangroves to build Lincoln Road.
Fisher's realty office on Lincoln Road was in this building behind me. Later, it was the site of the Dyke Cafe. Fisher would bring prospective buyers of real estate to the penthouse up top, look at this bare landscape in front
Yo,
of them,
this-
say,
whoever
"This
fucking
land
did
over
this
there,
sound,
that could be yours."
Whoever interviewed this guy and kept making him point behind him.
That's PBS.
Whoever kept making him point behind him, whoever kept the sound the way the sound was, and whoever shot him with that giant reflector so he like blinds him and get that weird what in the fuck.
It's PBS.
Go ahead. It doesn't matter.
It's PBS.
A county causeway eventually connected Miami to the beach at 5th Street. In 1942, it was renamed the MacArthur. Fisher built a trolley car system to complete the mainland
Fisher.
Grammarly. Oh,
2018 Lincoln.
Oh, get
nice
you
suit.
one.
You 007.
Yo, my man did rent a tuxedo for the commercial. He was with the production team like, you think I should get a tuxedo?
Looking like Daniel Craig.
That if you don't have a car, you're going to have to get a ride somehow across there unless you want to swim. So he's the guy that instituted, circa the beginning of the 1920s, a trolley system that was very extensive. Fisher owned his own power plant, later taken over by Florida Power and Light.
Own
Because how
power
are you gonna
plant by
sell real
FPO.
estate if
He
don't
started
have power?
FPO. Is that what he
Or
said?
bring tourists
Sold
down.
it to FBO.
Everything you
He started
needed,
FPO, later
tried
taken
to
over
have
by
a
Florida
voice.
Power and Light. He started FPO. Wow.
Fisher power plant.
Yeah. I definitely don't like him.
The pristine barrier
It's fucking
island
charging me
once
out the
attracted
ass
a
for some
passing
shit I ain't even-
sailboat had been transformed into a thriving city.
But you got AC in your house, bro.
I do.
You can make all them vegan specialties
I can.
because you got power.
I can. And I do. I pay money for it, too. Pay him money for it. Overcharged. Not him, obviously.
His ancestors. Or his,
somebody else.
Yeah.
Whatever. But quite bullshit.
Somebody else.
The boom reached its peak in the summer of 25, and it was phenomenal. It was the talk of the nation, at least the eastern part of the United States. I mean, land that had been going for nothing was suddenly selling for everything.
Oh, just like today.
And building permits were crazy.
Like today.
And then, for a host of reasons, that boom began to collapse by the latter part of 25, certainly in 26. By June of 26, it's over.
That was him? That was Fisher?
Around the
What's
same
his first
time,
name?
Nature
Carl.
took its revenge on all this development.
The mighty hurricane.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Karma has arrived.
That's the thing about elevation and humidity, and when it meets other stuff, creates rain. And plus, you built all this shit, so you got all this concrete and there, right? Concrete and shit everywhere.
And it was only, give or take, like 10, 15 years that all this stuff was going on. And here comes the hurricane. Here comes depression.
Yeah, all in the 20s, man.
All that shit gone.
Is this happening all across the country? Like shit like this?
The depression?
I know the depression hit everybody. I
Yeah.
mean, like
Hurricanes?
no, not hurricanes. Just like I don't know, like a booming economy meets
It was
some sort of
because
wall.
remember during the Ocoee episode, we found out that a lot of blacks were getting a lot of power because there was a boom in the early 1900s. So everybody was getting, it was reciprocating through everybody. Now, was it as big as Miami? No, but everybody got to feel it. And
Right.
then the depression came and fucked over everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think it had a lot to do with 1920. They started letting women vote. You know what I mean?
Are you saying that the women voting caused the depression?
Well, because they let the women vote, now there were black men and black women allowed to vote. And I think they were getting too much power. And I think maybe on some conspiracy shit, this is a way to like knock everybody back. Because whenever there's a depression or a recession, guess what? Everybody that's been hoarding the money, they come through and buy up all the shit that all the poor people are selling off, and then that's how the richer get richer. And so is that systematically implemented on purpose, or is that just the way it runs? It's just, you know what I mean? Because we're gonna see Fisher's life doesn't exactly end the best, as it begun.
Spoiler alert.
September 17th, 18th, just smashed right into Miami Beach, and then it turns west right through downtown Miami, past the northern edges of Coral Gables out into the Everglades. A lot of people got trapped out on the MacArthur Causeway. And the causeway was much more narrow then, it wasn't bulkheaded, and that water surge just took them. And its destruction was terrible. There were thousands left homeless, thousands of buildings went down or were damaged. 130 people in Dade County died, and that just ensured that boom wasn't coming back.
The crash of 29 brought on the Great Depression and an end to the extravagance of the Roaring Twenties. The timing of the crash couldn't have been worse for Carl Fisher. He was overinvested in his latest scheme to create a northern Miami Beach on the eastern tip of Long Island.
Stock market crashed, and that was it. He lost almost everything.
Fisher sold his opulent home. In typical fashion, he quipped that it took too long to get to the front door anyway.
And he ended up living in a small apartment somewhere on South Beach. And that's where he passed away.
Alcohol had destroyed his liver. When he died in 1939 at the age of 65, mourners paid tribute to him as one of the great visionaries of his time.
Fucking alcohol destroyed his liver. Yes, it did, motherfucker. Get me another and 3 more of them girls and some more of that marijuana and say what's up to my elephants. Getting bigger every day. Damn,
this
dog.
guy was
Carl
left with a bust.
Fisher.
He made roads, racetracks,
Memories.
cars, headlights,
Fucking memories.
dolphins, and boats and elephants and
Why is there lipstick on that dolphin's blowhole?
And all he's left was a bronze bust
Giant smile
in the middle of town that some people walk by and say, "Who the fuck is Carl Fisher?"
Nah, because now Thompson knows about it. Peens found out about it. Now we're telling everybody else in the world about it.
Share this shit, like, subscribe, make sure you do
Let
that.
the people know about Carl Fisher. Do we like him? I don't think I like him, but he definitely did some awesome shit.
I respect the guy. I mean,
I will say I respect
the road you drive on.
It
was inspired by him.
I can't say that I respect him.
Why? Because he fucked with some elephants?
No, not just the elephant, but again, it's the look. It's when I'm down there, there's something about it that's just not right for me. Doesn't feel right. And as we're talking, I'm just like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like, those moments where he destroyed his liver because he drank so much. Inside of those moments,
that's the spirit of Miami.
He probably did some fucked up shit and said some fucked up shit. Inside of that, yeah, the elephants, you know what I mean? Like that type of kind of all around doing great shit, sure. But
you think he pushed it to the limit too hard?
I'm not judging him. I'm just saying I might not.
Yeah, you are.
What do you mean?
You're judging him.
How am I judging him?
Because I don't like him.
Is that judging?
Yeah.
I don't think that's judging because who am I? It's not like I mean anything.
That doesn't matter. The fact is that you still are judging. It doesn't, in the grand scheme of things, no, it probably doesn't mean anything. But
right.
in
I don't
general,
have the power to judge him.
Yeah, you do. You either like or don't. That's a judge. Unless you're just undetermined about it, then you're not judging because you don't have a side to pick. Once you pick a side, you're kind of judging.
I don't know if that's accurate.
I think so.
Okay. I don't know if it is though.
Yeah, because and it's not just like you don't like them for no reason, right? You're obviously putting things like the elephants and the gluttony, right? The overdoing.
I think Miami is where I'm judging them. If I'm judging them, it's just Miami.
What he produced, basically.
Just the legacy we're talking about. And because earlier you were talking about, the godlike stuff, and I'm like, but is it the legacy of Miami? What Miami is now? Is that like a good thing?
Yeah.
I don't know that it is, bro. It's
a
like the
super
number
strong-
one pill capital in the fucking United States. It's
Cocaine before that.
It's so much bad stuff. We've talked about it a couple times here. And this has nothing to do with necessarily the people, but I guess maybe it does. I mean, I don't know, I don't want to get my ass whooped in the street. I'm just saying, like,
so Thompson doesn't like people from Miami.
I'm sure I like a ton of people from Miami. I know some people from Miami. I'm just saying, like, statistically, it seems like there's a lot of bad shit that goes down in those two counties down there. Are we saying that's a good thing? Are we saying the things that he produced?
I think anywhere there's gonna be the good with the bad. You know what I mean? It's just that's human nature.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's human nature.
Again, those counties, pills.
I mean, any great person.
And what was the other one? It was It was a Pito's. I forgot whatever else it was. It was
that's Palm Beach.
Where's that? That's down there, right?
It's a little north of Miami.
Not much though, like 20 minutes or something, right?
All the same vicinity.
It's in the same spot. I don't know, bro.
So we should have just left the Indians here and never came to Florida.
The people,
the Native Americans.
the native people. No, that it's hard to like once you get. You're right. Once you get far enough back, you're like, so what should have happened? Should we just turn around and go the other way? Then we wouldn't be here. Blah blah. Right? Yeah, it's hard. I think constantly acknowledging the fact that happened and like just acknowledging that.
Well, I'll put it to you
wrong.
like this: if it wasn't for Miami, we wouldn't have The Rock.
It's true. It's true. You know what
University of Miami,
yeah,
producing motherfucking The Beast.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with when you can't have The Rock. I take The Rock. All the cocaine.
God damn it,
all
Dwayne
the murders,
Johnson.
the murders in the 80s.
just because you produced The Rock.
And I love watching Rock's movies, no matter what they are. Like, I can't tell one Rock movie I really even like. Be Cool too.
What about Marilyn Manson?
What about Marilyn Manson?
Are you inspired by Marilyn Manson? He's from Miami, or he made his name in Miami.
I think so. I would say I am. I
Better
don't
than Carl Fisher.
I honestly just learned about Carl Fisher today. I didn't know what we were talking about till even when you started talking about Miami at the beginning. I didn't know what we were talking about, but I'm glad I learned about Carl Fisher. I would say I am inspired by Marilyn Manson. Not necessarily a bunch of his music. I only really know Beautiful People or whatever.
People.
Yeah, it's just hard. I love that song. And just his like freedom of expression is dope. And apparently he's a really good guy too. Besides that, you hear a lot of stories from rappers talking about, hey, he's a good guy. So I didn't know he was from Miami, but it makes sense because he's into some weird shit.
If you like Gucci Mane, you gotta like Carl Fisher.
Gucci Mane seems to creep up in all of these conversations we have. Now, what does Gucci Mane have to do with Carl Fisher?
Because Gucci Mane, like, you know, he wasn't a perfect person, but remember that time he threw a bitch out of a movie car because he was like not liking her vibe. What about that time on the stage that he snuffed a bitch? Right, so he's done some fucked up shit, but he's made some good music.
Gucci Mane before?
Yeah,
On stage.
I think so.
Recording him.
Right, during the Movement TV shit.
Yeah, but I was like it was like me and Gucci Mane on the front of the stage. And he was doing, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. I ain't never seen somebody drink so much in my life, bro.
Bro, he's a specimen of a human.
Now he flipped around.
He's a Carl Fisher type of vibe.
How is Gucci Mane Carl Fisher?
Just these people that show up in the world and create change. They're a beacon, a marker. He changed hip hop. He changed hip hop. It wasn't Gucci Mane. You would have Lil B. You would have. You wouldn't have a lot of this stuff. Like Gucci Mane created that whole like Southern kind of alternative.
Didn't Lil B come out before Gucci Mane?
Nah, hell no. Gucci Mane is the nucleus.
Or around the same time?
Yeah, you wouldn't have got Young Thug, Migos.
No, Young Thug, Migos, but Lil B was like.
Nah, Gucci Mane was first.
2005, right?
Yeah, but he was part of like the pack first, and then he came out and did his own thing. Gucci Mane's the father of this shit. He is. Watch the Noisy episodes, bro. So Carl Fisher basically died of a bad liver in like a little apartment. That's basically where you end up.
Party.
If you don't die in your like early 30s when you have all the money and you're like a cocaine cowboy. But none of the cocaine cowboys have a bronze bust that you can walk by.
And a terrible hat.
Meestead, Miami. So, okay. We talked about Carl.
Wait. So, never mind. That's Mr. 305. I was like, what is Pitbull?
Pitbull? Pitbull brings a lot to Miami, too. Like, he's trying to bring, like, the whole New Year's Eve shit. He wants to bring that to Miami. Like, fuck New York. Fuck dropping the ball. Come to Miami.
What are you going to drop?
Nothing. You just hang out.
8-ball?
Party. Maybe.
Drop some acid.
You can get some... Nah, fuck acid. Cocaine. When you're in Miami, you got to do cocaine. Acid's for, like, L.A. or San Francisco.
Don't do drugs. Don't do drugs.
So this is... more history
don't do cocaine
of Miami. The reason I'm playing this is because I want to shout out all the black people. And the reason what's wrong with that? What's wrong? I didn't just shake your head. I want to shout black people out. Like if it wasn't for
blanket statements.
No, I'm talking about the blacks that helped build Miami. Like that was the labor force. Like, Carl had the fucking idea.
It just sounds weird when people say black people and the blacks.
Right now, it sucks. But back then, it's pretty cut and dry what they did to these people.
No, I know. That's why I shake my head. When I hear somebody say the blacks, it makes me just shake my head.
African Americans, underprivileged.
I don't even know how to put it. You're right. I don't even know.
Yeah, because back then it just is what it is.
Right, I hear what you're saying. I'm just saying, literally, that's what makes you. Just like,
blacks were the Mexicans of back in the day. If there were Home Depots back then, blacks would be around the Home Depots, not the Mexicans. So you make fun of Mexicans now, but back then, that's what the blacks were doing. They got smarter. They got to evolve just like the Italians and the Irish and all those people. Blacks took a little bit longer because they were oppressed by the white man. So that's I really want to play this video because, like, Florida was a place where blacks actually got to make their own communities, have their own police force, have their own infrastructure.
Yeah, since early it was a refuge,
and that's why I think that Florida, even though it has a lot of fucked up history with our colored brothers, really, it was a place that allowed equality. If there was any equality back then, Florida would probably be the closest thing that you could come down. Like look what we're talking about. July Perry, like this man was a boss in Ocoee because of the explosion of the Industrial Revolution, turn of the century, etc. So this is pretty cool history about Miami. There's gonna be some white people in here too. And some jazz.
It's a city of.
You can't
stop.
That's what they
South
doing
when
that.
we came here, they only had one policeman and they had one fireman.
It's like a porn star
It was
name.
about in the city
Ed
itself,
Longo.
200 to 300 residents.
Well, if you went down on Kendall Drive,
Dick Ward.
across the railroad track, it was nothing but.
Oh, that's what it was. It was pills and porn. It was like the porn capital, right? Yeah, that's what it was. Tampa and Miami.
Things like that, beans. As far
Dick
out
Ward and Ed Longo.
all the way to Chrome.
I lived in a neighborhood where everybody loved everybody, and all children were the village's children.
Well, my family moved from the Gables here in 1954. Till you got your whistle at dusk, you were out just like little Indians. There was nothing but woods, and we just roamed wild.
It's a small town with access to all of the big city kind of attractions, and it happened to be 5 minutes from where I worked.
Henry Flagler's railroad opened South Florida for development and created new opportunities for pioneers like Wilson Alexander Larkins, who moved from Tennessee with his family in 1898. He opened the area's first general store on a dirt road just south of today's Cocoa Plum Circle and opened the first post office. By 1903, the Florida East Coast Railway had reached Miami and started building southward towards the Keys. The planners opted to curve inland to higher ground as they got to what was now being called Larkins. Mr. Larkins had the good sense to move his store and the post office next to the railroad tracks. The new Larkins was soon bustling. The Dorn brothers, Robert and Harold, established a dry goods store, a nursery, and a packing plant alongside the tracks as well. Lumbermen, hoteliers, grocers, and farmers soon added to the bustle. In 1912, Marshall Williamson came to Larkins. He wasn't allowed to buy land east of the railroad tracks, but he became the first black landowner and builder in what was being called Blacktown. He donated land for churches and the first school for black children in the area. A school is still on that site.
We lived on the last street in what we call Blacktown. As I walked to school, we walked our street to 62nd Avenue down to the school, which was on, I believe, 66th Street now. It was totally segregated.
So I wanted to stop here because if you go to every Florida town nowadays, you're going to find a railroad track that divides the white with the black neighborhood. Go to Winter Park, rich-ass neighborhood, has a small little black neighborhood. Not every Florida neighborhood.
Yeah, every is a strong word, but yeah.
But the Florida neighborhoods that were built prior to the 1950s, so from 1900 to like 1950 or 60, all of them were divided by a railroad track. Blacks on this side, whites on this side. And what's crazy is you still see them today. They're being gentrified now.
What's it called down?
Whites are moving in there.
What's the road called downtown?
Perrymore?
Nah. Division.
Wow, that's right.
The road's called Division.
And you can find a division in Sanford, too. Because Goldsboro.
They named it Division, bro.
Yeah. That's how deep it was.
Yeah, I read some reports, too, a while back, because I was like, Division, damn, looking at that railroad track. It runs kind of weird, but it still separates shit. it's like they wanted to rename it, but they were going to try to rename it like the Steel Mill or some shit like that. Nah, we need to name it. Perry was one of them. I think July Perry was one of them, and some other names. But you know, it's crazy how they named it. They're like out front about shit.
Yeah, Blacktown. Go back to Blacktown.
Division. You bugging, man. Why are people so racist? Why?
Out of fear, insecurities.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
It's just, man, such a waste of time.
Fear and insecurity, man.
Anyway.
These are the approximate boundaries of South Miami's black community in 1938. Blacks were not allowed east of US 1 for many years, except to work. If you know where to look, there are still signs of the segregation. A wall built to separate the black area from a new white neighborhood, and the dead-end streets that isolated the community.
So when you go down 50, right? Mm-hmm. To the west of 50, as you start going towards OBT, right? Mm-hmm. Those neighborhoods that goes right Edgewater, guess what? All of them have dead ends now. Because when I take Ashley to work, I take those back cuts, and it's like still there.
Wonder why that is,
and it's still there.
It's all over the city, man. Yeah, man. I don't know. It's fear, but like, damn. Oh, it's the propaganda that happened after slavery was abolished, and they start coming out with, you know, hide your kids, hide your wife type shit. And then, I mean, we're talking about the 30s and 40s now, not quite the 50s, but wasn't the 50s when
Oh, this is still the 20s, and the 30s.
Right, but I'm saying like the 50s is when the J. Edgar Hoover, right? Was that the 50s?
What, during civil rights?
That was
Hoover,
60s. Hoover's time? 60s. Okay.
Yeah, that was the 60s.
Community. Blacks had jobs at the cannery, in the fields, and operated businesses in their neighborhood. Grocery stores, barbershops, eateries, and beauty parlors, often in their own homes.
Here you had Alexander's restaurant. In the back of it was where I told you the teenagers had a place to dance, and then Miss Lottie Power turned it into a hairdresser's parlor there.
In 1926, a killer hurricane hit Miami and severely affected South Miami. The destruction was widespread, forcing many into tents. The city of South Miami was incorporated the following year, and just as the newly created city was rebuilding, the stock market crash and the Great Depression meant that many people went hungry.
They used to call my dad Mr. Eddie. He owned the Varsity Grill, which was a local hangout for the University of Miami, but he never refused a homeless person a meal. He always said, you go in the back, you'll feed you, you behave yourself, and you'll eat.
Arden Hayes Thomas.
What?
Go to the black, boy. Go to the back,
you got to.
And you will get fed. Now, you behave yourself now.
You got to. You can't have them up front, the riffraff. That happens now, too, man. You know, you help people within like constraints, within like certain, if you act right, you don't bother, you know. But is that wrong?
I mean, do you want to piss off your clientele by having some homeless guy, at the time, some black man in your restaurant?
Well, this was depression. It wasn't just black people that were homeless.
I think he was talking about black people.
I don't know if he was there, but he might have been. I don't think he was, because it was everybody.
Just the way he said, go to the back.
Again, just like dirty, downtrodden looking people. Got to go to the back. Is that wrong?
Yes and no.
I think yes and yes, but like you can understand it.
Right. Because you have to have the variable of being a business owner and not pissing off your clients, you know what I mean?
Yeah, see, if I own business, I'd be like, fuck them. Y'all sit down, enjoy. You are people too.
Then
but
people wouldn't come back and pay.
At some level, just to being the type of person I am, keep your money then. You know what I mean? But again, that's probably why I don't own a business. Because that's how I feel.
Then you would start up a soup kitchen.
I don't need your money.
I'm starting a soup kitchen.
I do need your money.
Everybody come here and eat
Everybody
for free.
come, and people take advantage.
We'll figure this out.
Right?
Another strong-faced man.
A pharmacist from Indiana came to town just in time for the Great Miami Hurricane. He opened the OK Drugstore on the north side of Sunset Drive.
Get your drugs,
Eventually
OK.
adding a feed and seed store, which did business for years as the OK Feed Store. In 1931, Doc Thomas, as he was affectionately known, built a handsome framed cottage for himself and his mother, using natural woods and oolitic limestone from the area. The home has been added to the National Register of Historic Places and houses the Tropical Audubon Society, to whom Thomas donated the property upon his death in 1975.
Oh.
The
Him and
Dorn
his
brothers
mom, huh?
built a
Think he was gay?
Possibly. I don't know.
fancy movie
See what I'm
house
saying?
called the
If he would have had an
Riviera Theater
Instagram
in
with no girls on it,
1925,
probably think he's
but
gay.
it closed following the
No,
hurricane.
that's not what I said. I said
because
possibly.
People could no longer
Maybe.
afford to go to the movies. It sat empty for years until it was bought by the Fuchs family, who moved their business from Homestead to South Miami.
Fuchs,
The old
what is
theater was converted into a modern bakery, the Wholesome Bakery, becoming a major employer, filling the air with delicious aroma.
Remember when you used to drive down R4 and they had that bread factory there? It used to
I used
smell
to live
so
over there.
good.
I used to live off.
Yeah,
of
the Tiger Woods party.
Tiger Woods, y'all.
They closed that place down, huh?
I did. I don't know.
Yeah, it don't smell like bread no more when you drive through there.
I don't. I guess I don't
Wonder
go
bread.
through there. You go through there a lot.
Wonder Bread.
Was it? It was. I'm like, was it Wonder?
It was a
Doesn't
Wonder
matter.
Bread. It was a Wonder Bread.
It was delicious. Good times over there, man. I had a great times over there.
So I wanted to play this.
Of town in a big city, and prided itself on having a business district where you could buy oven fresh bread, feed for your horse, seed for your garden, and rent a tuxedo for a fancy event.
And rent a tuxedo.
Most everything anybody needed you could find in South Miami's downtown, and it was safe enough for children to roam the streets with their neighbor friends.
Everybody had a pony. We were using ponies as often as we were using
Everybody
our
had a
bicycles.
pony.
I mean, it was just a different life then. The moms were all home during the day, and the dads would come home from work at whatever time, and we would all sit down to dinner.
Yeah, a pony, huh?
Their cities.
It was just an atmosphere of community involvement.
With a round shopping mall called the is in the works.
This is the commercial part.
But there will always be that older cadre of the community in all of the communities who just want to,
They're in their comfort zone.
in their comfort zone, and that's
Basically, that's how we have to accept racist people.
Yeah, it is exactly what she's saying, bro. There's a certain element of the community that it's basically you have to it's out of their comfort zone because
they're racist.
Because
as
black people
fuck.
are scary.
But the thing that I was inspired is that just like Eatonville, was I think Eatonville? I want to say either Eatonville or Miami was one of the first black incorporated little town cities.
Eatonville, was it? We were talking about it last week, right? About how the one in Miami or whatever town we were talking about before, it was more they had their own municipality,
Police force, fire
but
department.
Eatonville had everything, the mayor and the city structure and the police force.
I still think there's some type of corruption because if you look at these
in Eatonville,
well, Eatonville, just like
because Eatonville did have corruption, but that was recently.
But that's just like Opelika, and
sorry,
and I forgot the other community where these were old African, black, whatever you want to label it as, communities with police, with their own, economy, and everything is working. But if you fast forward now, a lot of these neighborhoods are falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, where does the blame go on that? Is it the lack of resources? Is it the fact that those people don't, is there a lot of gerrymandering going on
Sure.
so that their voting is not being, their voice is not being melted, so therefore there's no resources and money coming to these communities. Like, look at how they had to shut down Eatonville High School, and now there's like this big ass high rise that's gonna go up there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with just not understanding your audience or whatever. There's a certain type of way you can connect with people, and the people in power don't necessarily understand that, so bad shit happens. I don't know. The people don't understand how to communicate with people and how to like.
So you're saying that who's not communicating? Is it the whites to the blacks or the blacks to the whites?
I think all together, it doesn't, because stuff is so fresh, I guess, even though it has been a while. Let's call it Jim Crow, I guess, the 60s, that people still on one side want to basically do the same thing to the people, but it was like this. So there's not a lot of like conversation to be had other than fuck the other side.
And gentrify?
And in reverse, people are still trying to like proceed and like, because gentrify, while kicking lower income people making $10,000 to $12,000 a year by getting them out of there, still is like bringing the property value up, right? Like,
right, it's revitalizing the neighborhood,
like making it better. So how do we figure out how to not kick people who can't afford to live there out? How do we do that? So it's not so much. So gentrifying is not such a bad word, because right now you're just moving people who've possibly lived there since the 20s.
So it's like collateral damage in a sense.
It really is. It's like a necessary thing, right? If we want to be better as a city, not that you, me, or city, town, whatever.
So bringing white people into the neighborhood makes it better.
I think the fact that they're white is just a
circumstance.
It's because white people, there's more rich white people than there are rich colored, folk.
Well, there's more white people than there are black people.
There's more white people, period.
Yeah.
But as far as like being over a certain income, statistically, they just are what they are. You can make a concerted effort to make sure that there's a certain type of person demographic that lives there. Minority that makes X amount of dollars. Or you can just take it on the chin and do some sort of like
I think there's some reparations that need to be handed, because
that's exactly what I'm saying. Take it on the chin by people around them may have to pay X amount of dollars for the place that they live, but a family that lived there before this change can live there and they just pay their whatever, and it's just as nice of a place and just as nice of a neighborhood. But
that's what I was saying, some type of grants that would make it easier to upkeep, because I notice in real estate, you should never buy in a black neighborhood. It's just the number one thing, or the number three things they always tell you is location, 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 and predominantly in white neighborhoods, the houses retain value because the white people keep up with the maintenance of the house. They thrive the neighborhood, right? They're really hard on policing it, and neighborhood watch and stuff to keep the area safe. This all drives the property value up. When there's no incentive and resources in these underprivileged communities, like we've said this in other episodes, like you just don't have time to upkeep your house because all the money's going to food and light. You know what I mean? So if there was some type of incentive programs, grants that you could get that, interest, no interest, you know what I mean? So that you're just there you're incentivized to fix your house and keep it up to date, because it doesn't matter who's living in the house, whether you're black or white. It's about the sustainability of that neighborhood to be a good neighborhood with good schools and good neighborhoods and no crime. And this is what drives property value up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because just like white people, black people, Spanish people, they all want to live in a nice neighborhood with no crime. But it just seems like the lack of resources, and even this neighborhood like BVO, it's predominantly Hispanic and I would say Caribbean descent, nationality type of population. And you could tell that the roads get half-assed. They fix them when they can. You know, there's always a situation like my mom said something ignorant to the realtor when we moved up here from Miami because she was always living in Spanish neighborhoods in Miami. She's like, put me in a white neighborhood. And you know what the realtor did? Sent her to BVO.
Mm-hmm. Got you.
You know what I mean?
Nailed it.
You know, BVO was nice when we first moved here because the houses, this was in the 90s, the houses were only a few years old. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But fast forward now, even though the retention of the rent keeps going up, property value is way lower compared to some of the white neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. And you could see that, man. And it's just like,
similar to what we were talking about at like gatekeepers, certain amount of people saying what is what and what isn't, like music
influence
and art.
It's kind of scammy.
And then just saying like, well, because I own this, it's worth this, but over there it's not worth as much.
Right.
But is that the fault of the people, the quote unquote people?
In some respect, yes.
I don't think so, man.
Well, if they're doing it consciously,
if they're set up to fail.
No. If the other people on the other side are doing it consciously, and it's affecting them in a positive way, that's a little scammy because if this is the United States,
No, I'm talking about minorities.
Well, they don't know. It's like you're not programmed for those things. You're not taught those things. You know what I mean? You're not taught like, hey, if we don't take care of this house, the whole neighborhood's going to collapse. You know what I mean? You're more focused on putting food on the table, trying to create opportunity. Right. There's a lot more dysfunction, unfortunately, because of the lack of resources.
Right.
There's an emotional complication that thrives in the home. I mean, even down to food stamps. There's laws that say that if you're a single woman raising kids, you're going to get more food stamps. So that kind of drives you to not have a man in the house. You know what I mean? So
single just means not married.
Right, but it incentivizes these women, if they want more resources to help them, get rid of the man in the house, right? Break up the family, and that's the structure. When there's no family, then there's a complication in emotion, right? These things start to thrive. Then you don't have time to upkeep your house and have a fucking fairy tale neighborhood, and there goes the neighborhood, not to sign,
It's a good movie.
But it's the truth. These are the reasons that these neighborhoods are falling apart. The lack of resources,
some of the reasons,
emotionally, deprived people. Not to mention a lot of, like this neighborhood is a lot of immigrants that are coming over here. They're just trying to get their piece of the dream, and they're focused on working hard, and upkeep is an American thing. You go to third world countries, people upkeep their house, but it's not like keeping up with the Joneses, like who's got nicer grass or who's got, and those make the property value go up, but it's not programmed into.
Well, it's third world, so.
But those people come with that mentality comes to this country, and then you do your house. You start to make your house look like a third world house. Right? Like you don't use AC that much. You're trying to save on electricity. That adds to the wear and tear of the house, the lack of, and then what does that do? It brings property value down. You know what I mean? And these people, since they're not hip to this shit, it feels sometimes like a scam.
Yeah, but again, it's somebody else stating what the property value is, right?
Well, it's
what it's selling for.
There's appraisers that dictate comparables of that neighborhood. So if people are only willing to pay a certain amount of money based on that neighborhood, that's what brings the property value.
Because of the color of the neighborhood.
Right, So if you have $1 million, why would you go to Perrymore and build a nice house or build a nice neighborhood or whatever when you just go to Dr. Phillips and be like a regular idiot or a regular whatever and just play the role? Not like an idiot, but just in the sense of being simple-minded. Yeah, exactly. And be like, well, yeah, I made it to this bracketing of class, so now I have to live in this neighborhood.
Yeah, man. Try not to fight that urge everyone, because it's bullshit. It really is. I think it's a giant fucking fuck you. It's a giant scam.
Real estate.
They want you to be afraid of a certain group of people. They want you to be afraid of going against the grain. They want you to be afraid of thinking outside the box.
Well, they also want you to believe that you're better, that you're above these people. Because it's just like, when Fisher came down here to build this place, he wasn't thinking about poor people. He was thinking about rich people like him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's the real face value of everything. Like, I'm not going to build this for, like we were saying about worshiping gods or worshiping people, right? Like, this is who I want to build for. I'm not going to build a beautiful neighborhood for everybody. I want to build a beautiful neighborhood for rich people.
For rich people. So we can party.
Because I know they have money.
So we can party. And I guess, ironically, Jesus did turn the water into wine, so he kept the party going. So did Fisher.
And
got that road, built that road. Keep that party going, baby. Come on down. It ain't nothing but a 20-hour drive. Let's go, baby.
So you're saying is everybody can be a Pontius Pilate?
Everyone who really has a passion in life for making people feel good. Yes.
You got to get rid of the Jesuses.
Again, it just changed the word around, maybe. Doesn't have to be.
Jesus wasn't an intellectual.
Who said he was?
Maybe he wasn't.
Who said he was? I don't remember ever hearing that he was smart.
I mean, he had to be smart. He's God's son.
Why does it make him smart? Who says God is smart?
Oh, so you don't have to be smart to follow your intuition?
I guess God is all-knowing, so he is smart. But who? Huh?
For him to know these things, it came from intuition. That's a form of intelligence.
No, it's not. It's a feeling. It's a gut feeling.
That's intelligence.
No, it's not.
No?
No.
So intelligence is just a learned behavior.
Intelligence is being able to, like, break down words and facts and recall things and doing
he told
math.
the Jews, like, we have to accept the Gentiles even though they don't cut their penis head off.
What does that have to do with
That's
being
intellectual. He can tell, like, just because that man has a comb, has a turtleneck over his dick head, he's still human like me.
That's not smart.
Yeah, it is.
That's just feeling right. That's just being right.
That's
with the world.
compassionate.
That's just being a cool person.
Caring about dick heads.
Yeah, man. Of course. I think the most compassionate thing you can do is care about people's private parts, because it's the answer to all of life, and you want to protect those things.
So is circumcised or uncircumcised better then?
Uncircumcised, because it's more hygienic and it's easier.
That's hearsay.
It's not hearsay.
Nah, that's programmed by the Jews.
It's science say.
That's programmed by the Jews.
I don't subscribe to Jewish programming.
Yeah, if you cut your dick head off, you did, because they invented that.
No, they made it part of their religion. They didn't invent
They
it.
started that shit.
They made it part of their religion.
They came up with that shit. They brought that to the planet
clean,
Earth.
And I don't have little piss particles in my fucking head. I gotta keep it clean. It's just it's convenient and amazing. And it feels better during sex.
So pro circumcision.
So my asshole says.
This
Just kidding.
podcast is pro circumcision.
Pro cirky.
Laheim brisket.
Chaim.
Well, my name is Fredo Peens.
Once again, I'm Chris Thompson.
Uncircumcised Thompson in the house.
Circumcised as they come. Funny. I was circumcised when I was 10 years old, bro.
Yeah, that's kind of late, bro.
Very late. I have vivid memory of getting circumcised.
Oh, man, that must have been, like, scary to know that.
Probably top 3 worst things that ever happened in my life.
That's why you got to do it while you're a baby, so you don't remember.
So you don't have any memory of it. I have the entire thing.
So when your mom asked you, was like, so you want to get the dickhead cut off?
Again, it was a hygiene thing.
Was it like, we're doing this no matter what? Did you ever say it?
It was just a hygiene thing. I don't remember if I had to say or not. It was just...
It's your dick. At that point, you've had it for 10 years.
I don't remember if I had to say. I was probably 7. Sorry, not 10. I was probably like 7 or 8. And all I really remember is being in the hospital, getting the temperature thing on my head, There's like a little sticker that told you what your temperature was. And going into there and then putting the shit on my face and then counting backwards. And then there was just this like fucking explosion of pain in my dick.
They didn't put you under. You
counted again. Like it's once you're under, then the next thing you just wake up. It's not like I remember dreaming or anything. So it's just like gone.
But you felt the pain
when I woke up. Yeah, it was like fucking fire, like hot fire, and it was like, and I just saw these masked people, and I was like looking around. Then I saw my mom, and I kept telling my mom how much it hurt. She was like, "I know, sorry," or something like that. But that wasn't even the worst part, bro. The worst part was the recovery and having like a boner for a week and having to pee like by like putting my legs way out over here, my arms over here, and then when I pee, it was like lava coming out my dick. For like 2 weeks, bro.
Yeah, that's brutal, bro.
Worst shit ever. And then I had stitches like around the head.
Oh man.
And for 20 years after that, I'd still get like little, because the little stitch part like expels out of the body eventually. Like it holds everything together, and then eventually the body just works it out of
20 years?
Bro, I would still have like little hard things. I was like, what's this black? And I, just sort of squeeze, and then boop, there's a little thing. It's popped out.
Damn, that's some malpractice shit.
It's crazy, man. It's all good now.
Well, thank you for dropping those jewels.
Cirky.
Well, this is Fresh Produce Florida Media. That's the Gmail. Let us know if you have any circumcision stories that you want to share with the podcast. We'll put you on. Shout out to innovative people. I hope this story inspired you to race cars, to fuck up elephants' lives, and get circumcision. Peace out.